This fish costs more than your house, and yes, it eats mud. Today, the science of how we turned a swamp dweller into a swimming Ferrari. To understand the art, we first have to look at the paint. In mammals, like you and me, we're actually pretty boring. We just have melanin. We get tan or we get pale. That's it. But koi? Koi have a specialized suite of cells called chromatophores. Think of them as the pixels on your 4K TV, but these pixels are alive. They have legs and they can move. We have three main players in this chaotic cellular drama. First, you have the melanophores. Think of these as the goths of the fish world. They hold black pigment called melanin. Second, you have the erythrophores. These bring the fire. They hold the red and orange pigments. And third, you have the iridophores. These are the disco balls. They don't actually have color. They have stacks of guanine crystals that reflect light to look metallic. Now, on a high-quality koi, these cells don't just sit next to each other. They stack up in layers like a biological sandwich known as the dermal chromatophore unit. If you put the disco ball cells over the goth cells and look through a clear blue scale, physics happens. The light scatters via the Tyndall effect, the same physics that makes the sky blue, and boom, you get the Asagi variety. It's not blue pigment, it's an optical illusion created by fish skin architecture. So we have the paint, but what about the canvas? The wild carp, the magoi, is brownish-black to hide from predators. So why is the base color of most koi snow white? It's actually the result of something called domestication syndrome. When humans started breeding carp to be friendly and tame, we accidentally selected for a defect in their nervous system. See, the cells that make adrenaline, the fight-or-flight response, come from the same place in the embryo as the pigment cells. It's a place called the neural crest. When we bred for calm fish that wouldn't freak out in a pond, we inadvertently got fish with lazy pigment cells. These cells failed to migrate all the way from the spine to the belly. So that white skin isn't white pigment. It's a blank canvas where the pigment cells were just too lazy to show up. The high-class white pattern on a $1 million koi is basically a genetic failure to launch. So we have the paint and we have the canvas. How do we draw the picture? How does the fish know to put a red spot here and a black stripe there? Enter Alan Turing. Yes, the Enigma code guy who invented modern computing. Before he died, he figured out the math behind how zebras get stripes and leopards get spots. It's called the reaction diffusion system. Imagine the red cells and the white cells are playing a game of tag. The red cells want to expand, and the white cells want to push them back. They constantly push against each other until they reach a mathematical stalemate. That sharp, razor-edge boundary on a kohaku pattern, the kiwa, that is a stable Turing equation manifested in living flesh. But sometimes the math breaks. As the fish grows, the skin stretches. If the pattern can't keep up, the math equation collapses, the pattern blurs or breaks apart. That's why a pattern that looks amazing on a baby fish might look like a spilled slushie when it grows up. But some koi refuse to sit still. Meet the Kumanryu. This fish is the mood ring of the aquarium world. One month it's black, the next month it's white. Then it turns into a skeleton pattern. Why? Because of transposons. Transposons are jumping genes. These are pieces of DNA that literally cut and paste themselves into different spots in the genome. If a jumping gene lands on the black color switch, it turns the black off. Later, if the water gets cold or the fish gets stressed, the gene might jump back out, turning the black on. Buying a Kumanryu is a gamble. You might buy a panda and end up with a polar bear. It's genetic chaos, and collectors love it. Now, remember earlier when I said the red cells were high maintenance? Here is the dirty secret of the koi industry. Koi cannot make red pigment at all. They need astaxanthin, a carotenoid found in shrimp and algae. If you stop feeding a champion red koi its special color-enhancing food, it will fade into a sad pale orange. It's the flamingo effect. No shrimp, no pink flamingo. No shrimp, no red koi. But you have to be careful. If you feed them too much color food, the fish's liver can't process it fast enough, and the white skin turns yellow. It's a delicate balance between Grand Champion Red and jaundiced banana. There is an ancient legend that if a carp swims all the way up the Yellow River and leaps over the Dragon Gate Falls, it transforms into a dragon. Biologically, that's kinda true. The wild carp is a survivor, but the Nishikigoi, it's a genetic impossible dream. It fights against predators, it fights against the sun bleaching its colors, and it fights against its own DNA trying to revert back to brown. A Grand Champion koi is a biological dragon. It's a creature that shouldn't exist, maintained by science, art, and a whole lot of expensive fish food. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.